Have you ever noticed how men seem to gravitate towards certain women while you, who are kind, available, and always in good spirits, go completely unnoticed? It's not a coincidence, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your appearance. There's a psychological misstep you're making right now, a mistake so subtle, so socially ingrained, that you probably don't even realize you're making it. But it's annihilating your chances with real men. And the worst part, the more you strive to be agreeable, the more invisible you become. Carl Jung, the progenitor of depth psychology, spent decades dissecting the male psyche. And he uncovered something unsettling about what truly attracts and repels men on an unconscious level. It's not about being pretty. It's not about being interesting. It's not about being charismatic. It's about something far more primal, something that operates beneath his conscious awareness. Something you are inadvertently obliterating every time you smile when you shouldn't, every time you agree when you disagree, every time you feign being okay when you're not. You know that woman who walks into a room and men simply notice? The one who isn't necessarily the most stunning, but possesses an undeniable magnetism. She's not doing what you think. In fact, she's doing the very opposite of what you've been taught your entire life. Here's the truth no one has divulged. Men aren't drawn to nice women. They find comfort in them. And comfort is the assassin of desire. Jung termed as the loss of tension between opposites. And that's precisely what transpires when you're being the agreeable one. You're extinguishing chemistry before it even has a chance to ignite. I know. It flies in the face of everything you've been instructed. Be pleasant. Don't be difficult. Smile more. Be accommodating. You've adhered to all these directives with unwavering fidelity. And where has it led you? To the friend zone, to invisibility, to conversations that meander aimlessly, to men who adore your vibe but never make the subsequent move. But what if I told you there exists a psychological technique rooted in Jung's studies of the male psyche that can utterly transform how men perceive you? A technique so potent that you can literally feel the shift in his energy from the very first conversation after implementing it. Because you see, while you continue to be the nice girl, other women are leveraging profound Jungian principles to render themselves utterly unforgettable in the male mind. They aren't working harder. They aren't prettier. They've simply understood something about male psychology that you're about to discover. Jung discovered that the male psyche is drawn to a specific quality in women, a quality that has nothing to do with beauty or niceness. He called it the power of wholeness. And once you understand what that means and how to demonstrate it, you will never be invisible again. Those pieces of advice you've received, be more open, show interest, be easy to talk to, they're all creating the problem, not solving it. Because they completely ignore how male desire truly functions on an unconscious level. Jung found that men are unconsciously drawn to what he called the integrated shadow. And this has nothing to do with being mysterious or manipulative. It has to do with something much deeper, something that's within you right now, but that you've been conditioned to hide, repress, smooth over. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why being too agreeable is making you appear two-dimensional in his eyes, the specific Jungian concept that explains why men lose interest in nice women, the conscious shadow technique that creates instant magnetic tension, and the fatal mistake that 90% of women make in early conversations that condemns them to the friend zone forever. You can continue doing what you've always done, being nice, available, good-humored, easygoing, and you can continue to be invisible. Or you can understand, in the next few minutes, what Jung knew about attraction that completely transformed how thousands of women relate to men. The choice is yours, but I warn you, after you see this, you'll never be able to be the nice girl in the same way. Because you'll understand what's really going on when you act that way. And once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it. So take a deep breath. Because what you're about to discover will challenge everything you've been taught about being a woman. But it will finally make you seen. Let's go. Now, I need you to do something with me. Something simple, yet profoundly powerful. If you genuinely wish to emerge from invisibility and begin being perceived by men in an entirely different light, type the word wholeness in the comments right now. I realize it may seem deceptively simple to be effective, but allow me to elucidate what transpires when you undertake this action. Jung discovered that the subconscious mind responds to symbolic commitments. When you inscribe this word, You are not merely leaving a comment on a video. You are making a declaration to your own subconscious that you are prepared to relinquish the good girl persona and embrace your authentic totality. This act, however rudimentary it may appear, disrupts the pattern of passivity that perpetuates your invisibility. For invisible women consume content in silence. Women poised to be seen take action, however minuscule. And here is what will transpire when you type wholeness in the comments. Your brain will register it as a milestone, as a demarcation, as the pivotal moment when you resolve to cease concealing yourself behind perpetual amiability and commence revealing your true self. Furthermore, you will forge a connection with hundreds of other women embarking on this identical journey. Women who have also recognized that excessive agreeableness has rendered them invisible. Women who are actively applying these Jungian principles to their relationships and witnessing tangible outcomes. As you peruse the comments and observe all these women typing wholeness, you will grasp that you are not isolated in this metamorphosis. That an entire community of awakened women exists, having resolved to cease suppressing their shadow and to commence integrating their genuine power. And do you know what is most intriguing? The men in your life will perceive this shift even before you articulate a single word. Because when you forge this internal commitment, when you declare to your subconscious that you are ready to be whole rather than merely good, your energy transforms. Your posture shifts. Your gaze alters. The manner in which you engage with others changes, and men instantaneously apprehend this, even if they cannot articulate the precise reason. Therefore, proceed without delay. Type wholeness in the comments. Not tomorrow, not after you have concluded the video. Now, because this is the inaugural test. If you cannot undertake this minor act of publicly committing to your own transformation, how will you muster the courage to cease people-pleasing when necessary? How will you find the fortitude to reveal your shadow when the situation demands it? Women who remain invisible are passive. Women who are seen are proactive. And once you have written wholeness, continue to observe, because what follows will precisely illustrate how to apply this in your interactions with men. I will provide you with the specific technique Jung himself would employ for you to transcend invisibility and become magnetically irresistible. But first, write wholeness. Make this commitment to yourself. Join the ranks of other women rediscovering their power, and prepare your unconscious mind to absorb this paradigm-shifting information. I await your comment. Let's begin. Let me illuminate what's truly transpiring within his psyche when you embody cheerfulness, helpfulness, and perpetual availability. The prevailing notion among many women is that such conduct renders them alluring. They rationalize, if I remain light-hearted, amiable, and accommodating, he'll be inclined to remain by my side. And in a technical sense, they are not entirely mistaken. He will indeed desire your proximity. However, this desire often diverges from the form you anticipate. Carl Jung unearthed a profound revelation concerning the male psyche. He posited that every man harbors an unconscious archetype of the feminine, a construct he termed the anima. This anima transcends mere fantasy or aesthetic predilection. It is a deep-seated psychological force that fundamentally shapes his perceptions of attraction, desire, and even love. And here lies the revelation that will irrevocably alter your perspective. The male anima is not drawn to perfection. It is captivated by wholeness. Allow me to expound upon this distinction, as it is absolutely paramount. When you consistently maintain an upbeat demeanor, invariably concur, and remain perpetually accessible emotionally, you are presenting what Jung would characterize as an idealized persona, an unimpeachable social facade. You embody the quintessential dream girl, devoid of drama, complications, or demands. And do you know what his subconscious registers upon encountering this presentation? Not, this woman is extraordinary. Rather, it perceives, this woman is not authentic, because, you see, his anima, that archetypal representation of the feminine dwelling within the depths of the male psyche, possesses an inherent understanding of women's true nature. It recognizes that genuine women possess depth. They have their shadows. They experience periods of melancholy. They harbor firm convictions. They embrace moments of contemplative silence. They establish unequivocal boundaries. His anima seeks a woman of complete substance, not merely a societal role designated as the agreeable companion, and when he encounters you as a beacon of unadulterated light, unremitting joy, and effortless ease, a segment of his conscious mind may indeed find it agreeable. He might think how pleasant it is to be in her company. There's no friction. However, his subconscious, the crucible of genuine attraction, sounds a resounding alarm. Warning. This woman is concealing half of her being. This one-dimensionality is inherently untrustworthy. For consider this, what he truly craves, though he may never articulate it, is the experience of engaging with a complex individual. A person characterized by multifaceted layers. Someone capable of exhibiting tenderness one moment and profound seriousness the next. An individual who can share in his mirth, yet also meet his gaze and assert, "No, this does not align with my principles." Jung referred to this as the integration of the shadow, and in its absence, you are reduced to a mere caricature, a person devoid of substance. And caricatures do not ignite profound desire. They offer temporary comfort. Now, you might be thinking, but men always say they want a low-maintenance woman, one who doesn't cause drama. And yes, they do say that. Consciously, they believe it. But Jung taught us that the conscious mind deceives, not out of malice, but because it lacks access to what is truly unfolding in the depths. What is unfolding in the depths is this: his anima is desperately craving polarity, craving tension, craving a feminine that is whole, not merely palatable. And when you are invariably the same, always predictable, always agreeable, you obliterate this tension. You become flat. You become safe. And safety does not generate chemistry. It does not foster obsession. It does not ignite that kind of attraction that compels a man to think of you when he ought to be preoccupied with other matters. Allow me to provide a concrete illustration of what this signifies in practical terms. Imagine you're engaged in conversation and he cracks a joke about something significant to you. Not a malicious jest, but something subtly disrespectful. The majority of women, striving to be the nice girl, will laugh along. They will feign being unperturbed. They will maintain a light-hearted atmosphere. And do you know what has just transpired in his unconscious? He has just categorized you as safe, but uninteresting, because his anima recognizes that a woman of substance would have registered a reaction. Not aggressively, not by creating a spectacle, but with a look, with a silence, with a simple statement. I didn't find that amusing. That moment, that instance of you revealing your shadow, of you demonstrating that genuine depth resides within you, is what creates a spark in his primitive brain. It is what rouses his anima and commands its attention. It is what transforms you from a nice girl into this woman is different. Jung posited that opposites generate tension, and tension begets energy, and energy gives rise to life. When you are merely one thing, exclusively cheerful, exclusively light, exclusively easygoing, there are no opposites. There is no tension. There is no energy. And without energy, there is no magnetic attraction. What most women fail to grasp is that men are not seeking an absence of conflict. They are seeking a presence of authenticity. And authenticity implies that at times you will disagree. At times you will be in a foul mood. At times you will not be emotionally available because you are navigating your own challenges. And these moments, which you were taught to conceal because you believed they would alienate him, are precisely the moments that prove to his subconscious that you are real, that you are whole, that you are a person, not a performance. His anima doesn't want an actress. She wants a living woman. And living women possess the entire emotional spectrum, not merely the socially palatable upper half. Therefore, when you are perpetually cheerful, always available, consistently accommodating, you are no longer enhancing your allure. You are diminishing your authenticity, and less real translates to less memorable, less impactful, less desirable on the profound level where genuine attraction truly resides. Now, I understand the thoughts that may be coursing through your mind, but if I cease being agreeable, won't he find me difficult? Won't he deem me overly complicated? And this, precisely, is the snare that perpetuates your invisibility. Because it's not about being difficult for the sake of being difficult. It's about embracing authenticity. It's about revealing the complete breadth of your being. And when you achieve this, a remarkable transformation occurs within his psyche. His anima finally acknowledges, this is a real woman. This is a woman who can challenge me, surprise me, make me feel alive. She is no longer just one among many. She is singular, and it is in this very moment that you transcend invisibility. Not when you attain greater perfection, but when you grant yourself permission to become more profoundly whole. Now, let's delve deeper, because understanding the anima is merely the prelude. What I'm about to reveal is far more potent and will elucidate precisely why you experience that particular frustration when he initially seems captivated, only to completely disengage later. There exists a psychological phenomenon identified by Jung that virtually no woman is privy to. He termed it the anima projection, and once you grasp its mechanics, you will, quite literally, never repeat the same misstep with men again. Here's the crux of it. During those initial encounters, in the nascent stages of conversation, the man isn't truly perceiving you. He is projecting his anima onto you. He is seeing what he desires to see, what he needs to see, that archetypal feminine image residing within him. At this juncture, you possess a magical window of opportunity. The projection is still active. He remains fascinated. He is still curious. He is still investing energy in discovering who you are. But here's where the vast majority of women sabotage everything. They endeavor to sustain the projection by embodying precisely what they believe he desires. They metamorphose into a flawless blank canvas for his fantasy. Perpetual agreement, constant laughter, unwavering availability, always conforming seamlessly to whatever he seems to want in that moment. And you know what transpires. The projection persists for a time, but inevitably, it must dissipate. Projections invariably crumble. Always. There is no mechanism for their perpetual sustainment. And when it falls away, when he finally perceives you as you authentically are, rather than the idealized phantom he projected, he discovers a woman devoid of her own intrinsic substance. A woman who was merely mirroring his desires. And in that instant, he vanishes. He cools. His interest wanes, and you are left pondering, but what did I do wrong? I was so agreeable, so easygoing, so utterly perfect, precisely. You were too perfect. And perfection is the antithesis of authenticity. Jung posited something revolutionary. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. However, when you function merely as a screen for projection, when you fail to contribute your own unique chemical essence to the mixture, no transformation occurs. There is no genuine reaction. And without reaction, there is no profound connection. This is what you must comprehend. The anima projection will inevitably collapse. It is an unavoidable eventuality. The pertinent question isn't how to preserve it. The crucial inquiry is, what will he encounter when it inevitably falls? If he encounters a genuine woman, one with her own opinions, her own life, clear boundaries, bad days and good days, an integrated shadow, he will think, wow, she's even more interesting than I imagined. And that's where true attraction begins, the kind that isn't predicated on fantasy. But if he encounters merely a function, just someone who is constantly trying to please him, he will feel disappointment. Not because you did anything wrong, but because he perceives, deep in his subconscious, that there's nothing solid there, that you were merely performing. And men, on the anima level, don't want a performance. They want a real encounter. They want to collide with another real psyche and feel the impact of it. Let me give you another practical example, because this needs to move from theory into your actual life. Suppose he asks you out on a day you already have plans. The girl trying to keep the projection alive will cancel her plans. She'll make herself available. She'll show that he's a priority. She thinks, if I say no, he'll lose interest. But do you know what actually happens in his subconscious when you do that? He registers, she doesn't have her own life. She's revolving around me. There's no independent substance here. And his anima, which is seeking a whole woman, begins to disengage. Now imagine the woman who understands Jung. She replies, I'd love to, but I'm already committed that day. How about Thursday? And what happens? His subconscious registers something entirely different. She has a life. She has priorities. She's not desperate for my attention. There's a real person here. And his anima, it awakens. It pays attention. It thinks, wait, this one is different. Jung called this individuation. When you are a complete individual, not just half of a potential relationship, you become infinitely more attractive. Because the anima isn't looking for someone to complete the man. It's looking for someone who is complete in herself and who chooses to be with him. Choice. That word is essential. When you are always available, always agreeing, always accommodating, you remove the sense of choice. And without choice, there's no perceived value. You become inevitable rather than desirable. But here's the part most women are afraid to accept. For him to feel you're choosing to be with him, you also have to be willing to choose not to be with him when it doesn't make sense for you. You need to have standards, boundaries, moments of no, and I know that's scary. Because you've been taught that no drives men away. But the Jungian truth is the opposite. No differentiates you from all the others who only know how to say yes. His anima already knows 1,000 women who say yes to everything. What she's desperately seeking is a woman who says no when she needs to, because that proves her yes means something. That her yes is a genuine choice, not a social survival strategy. Jung discovered that the masculine psyche has a deep, unconscious fear of being consumed by the feminine. He called this the fear of ego dissolution. And you know when that fear is activated? When a woman has no boundaries. When she's always available. When there's no clear separation between where she ends and where he begins. This fear isn't rational. He won't sit down and think, wow, I'm afraid of being consumed. But unconsciously, when you don't demonstrate you have your own life, your own boundaries, your own needs, something in him recoils. Something in him senses danger. And the irony is, you were trying to be safe by always being agreeable, but you were actually creating the opposite effect in his unconscious. Now, what truly works? Demonstrating what Jung called the transcendent function. This means you are capable of holding opposites within yourself. You can be sweet and firm, affectionate and independent, interested and discerning, vulnerable and strong. When his anima perceives that you can maintain these opposites in balance, without fragmenting, without becoming unstable, something clicks. Because the anima is, in its essence, a symbol of wholeness. And wholeness recognizes wholeness. This is why those magnetic women I mentioned at the beginning aren't one-dimensional. They aren't just nice or just difficult. They are both, depending on the context. They aren't predictable because they've learned to integrate their shadow rather than repress it. And when you integrate your shadow, when you allow all aspects of yourself to exist and be expressed in appropriate moments, you stop being a projection screen and become a real person. And real women, whole individuals, are the only ones capable of holding a man's interest once the initial projection dissipates. Because after the fantasy crumbles, he either discovers something authentic and remains, or he encounters emptiness and departs. And if you've spent all that time merely being what he desired to perceive, once that facade crumbles, there will be nothing substantial there. Merely a woman striving to appease. And that is insufficient to construct anything genuine. Try again. Claude may make mistakes. Always check responses. Now I need to apprise you of the most misunderstood Jungian concept of all, one that will fundamentally alter how you interact with men moving forward. Jung spoke of something called the shadow, and most people believe the shadow is about your bad aspects, your wicked parts, your negative characteristics. But this is a dangerous oversimplification that is costing you visibility with men. The shadow isn't what's bad about you. The shadow is everything you've been taught to repress. And for women, this includes some of your most potent and magnetic aspects. Let me give you concrete examples of what's in your shadow right now. Your righteous anger, your ambition, your direct sexuality, your ability to say no without justifying yourself, your healthy selfishness, your moments of strategic coolness, your indifference when something doesn't interest you, your impatience with nonsense, your desire to be pursued rather than always pursuing. All of these aspects were shoved into the shadow because you were told that real women don't act this way. That attractive women are sweet, patient, always warm, always receptive, always giving. And you complied. You repressed half of yourself to fit into this tight box of acceptable femininity. And you know what happened? You became predictable, two-dimensional, safe. And safe doesn't generate desire. Here's what Jung discovered about the masculine psyche that changes everything. Men are unconsciously drawn to women who have integrated their shadow. Not women who are all shadow, that would be chaos. But women who can access those repressed aspects when needed. Because you see, when you repress your shadow, you lose access to your personal power. And personal power is the most potent aphrodisiac that exists for the masculine anima. Let me explain what's neurologically happening in his brain when he encounters a woman with an integrated shadow. There's a primitive part of the male brain that's constantly assessing, does this woman have her own resources? Does she have her own strength? Will she be able to handle life if things get tough? And no, this isn't conscious. He's not making a checklist. This is happening at the brainstem level, where decisions about mates are truly made. And when you are perpetually sweet, perpetually yielding, perpetually conflict-averse, perpetually prioritizing his needs above your own, do you know what that primal brain registers? Weakness, not strength. And weakness doesn't engender respect. And without respect, there's no lasting attraction. But when you occasionally reveal your shadow, when you say no without 1,000 apologies, when you express legitimate irritation, when you simply disappear because you're engrossed in your own life, when you demonstrate you have teeth but choose not to deploy them, something fundamentally shifts in his perception. His primal brain registers. This woman has power. She's choosing to be kind, not being kind because she lacks the option. This is dangerous in the best way, and dangerous in the best way is precisely what his anima is seeking. Jung posited that the psyche is drawn to that which is repressed. So when you repress your shadow, when you only display light, you are literally removing the polarity that creates attraction. You're being half a person and expecting to generate whole attraction. It doesn't work that way. Consider all the women you know whom men pursue with obsessive fervor. I'd wager they aren't the meekest. They aren't the perpetually available ones. They aren't the ones who never get angry. They are the ones with fire, the ones with clear boundaries, the ones who can be devastatingly sweet and devastatingly cold, depending on how they are treated. They have integrated the shadow, and the integrated shadow is magnetic in a way that pure light never will be. Now, let me give you a very specific example of how this plays out in a real-world scenario, because you need to see it in action to believe it. Imagine you've made plans to meet, and he cancels at the 11th hour with a flimsy excuse. The woman who has repressed her shadow will respond, "Oh, it's okay. No worries. We'll reschedule." She'll be accommodating, easygoing, signaling no consequences for his behavior. And what does he learn? That her time has no value, that he can do this again, that she's so thrilled to receive scraps that he needn't exert himself. But the woman who has integrated her shadow, she leaves the message on read, or replies hours later with a curt, "Understood." No emojis. No problem. No softening. And when he tries to reschedule, she's busy, genuinely occupied, because she has a life. And do you know what happens in his subconscious? Panic. Not a conscious panic, but something in his anima ignites an alert. Wait, I just lost value with her. She's no longer emotionally available. I messed something up, and suddenly, you've transitioned from the always available category to a woman I truly need to win over. And this shift in category is everything. Because you see, Jung discovered that the male unconscious categorizes women into archetypes. And there's a specific archetype that doesn't generate romantic desire, the ever-available great mother. When you are always understanding, always forgiving, always kind no matter what he does, you activate this maternal archetype within him. And nobody wants to sleep with their own mother, not even symbolically. But when you reveal your shadow, when you demonstrate that his behavior has consequences, when you withdraw emotionally when not treated with respect, you activate a completely different archetype, the lover, the equal, the woman who possesses her own power. And the lover? She is desirable. She is obsessive. She's the one he thinks about when he should be working. Now, I know you might be thinking, but isn't this manipulation? Isn't this playing games? And that's precisely the wrong question. Because it's not about manipulation. It's about stopping the suppression of who you truly are. Are you genuinely annoyed when he cancels at the last minute? Then show it. Are you genuinely disinterested when he's putting in minimal effort? Then disengage. Do you genuinely have better things to do than be available 24/7? Then do those things. This isn't strategy. It's authenticity. It's shadow integration. It's ceasing to repress your real feelings to maintain a facade of an ever-happy, ever-understanding woman. Jung famously said, "I would rather be whole than good," and that's the phrase that should be tattooed in the minds of every woman who wants to be truly seen by man. Because when you choose to be good instead of whole, when you repress your shadow to fit into the box of the ideal woman, you lose precisely what would make you irresistible, your complete humanity. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to be perfect and start being complex, when you allow your shadow to surface at appropriate moments, you stop attracting men who want an emotional nanny and begin attracting men who want a real partner. Because true men, psychologically mature men, don't desire a woman devoid of prickles. They seek a woman who possesses them but consciously chooses not to deploy them against him, provided he treats her with due consideration. This fosters a dynamic of mutual respect, the bedrock of any enduring attraction. The integrated shadow doesn't render you malevolent. It renders you whole. And wholeness is precisely what his anima desperately seeks and seldom encounters. So, the next time you're tempted to suppress your irritation, to feign acquiescence when things are amiss, to be understanding when, in reality, you're disappointed, remember this: you are not being kind. You are rendering yourself invisible. And you didn't journey this far to remain unseen. Now, let's delve into a Jungian concept that virtually no woman employs, yet it's instrumental in forging that obsessive connection that lodges immense thoughts firmly upon you. Jung termed this the dance of the archetypes. And when you master the art of orchestrating this dance, you quite literally become indelible in his memory. Here's what most women fail to grasp. Men don't fall for a singular trait. They fall for breadth, for emotional range, for a woman who can embody multiple personas within one, yet maintain coherence and authenticity. Jung identified several feminine archetypes residing within the male psyche: the mother, the lover, the warrior, the sage, the child, the queen. And his anima is in perpetual search for indicators of which archetype you embody. And here's where you falter. You've fixated on one and become entrenched. If you're perpetually the agreeable one, perpetually the fun one, perpetually the tension diffuser, you're trapped in the child or companion archetype. And these archetypes do not engender profound romantic desire. They foster comfort, familiarity, amity. But the woman attuned to Jung? She fluidly transitions between archetypes, adapting to the moment. She discerns when to embody the lover, when to assume the mantle of the queen, when to channel the warrior, when to permit a moment of vulnerability as the child. She doesn't remain static, confined to a single role. And this cultivates something within his mind that is utterly intoxicating: unpredictability within security. Allow me to elaborate on this concept, as it is the linchpin of it all. The male brain harbors two simultaneous, seemingly contradictory needs. It requires emotional security, the assurance that you won't suddenly erupt or exhibit complete instability. Yet, it also craves unpredictability, novelty, constant surprise. And most women offer only one of these components. Either they are entirely predictable and secure, leading to his ennui, or they are chaotic and unpredictable, causing him to become weary and depart. But when you commend the dance of the archetypes, you deliver both concurrently. You are fundamentally stable and dependable, yet within that stability, you are perpetually surprising. Let me illustrate how this manifests in practice, as it will fundamentally alter your interactions with him. You're on a date. You're being sweet, receptive, affectionate. You are inhabiting the lover archetype. He is relaxed, content, feeling connected. And then he says something mildly disrespectful, perhaps without even realizing it. A woman trapped in an archetype will either ignore it or laugh along, because she wants to maintain the lover's atmosphere. But you shift instantly. You access the queen archetype. Your body changes. Your posture straightens. Your gaze cools. You don't attack, you don't yell, you simply withdraw emotionally. And you say, with icy calm, "How interesting that you think you can speak to me that way." And in that moment, something explodes in his brain. Because he was comfortable in the archetype you were offering, and suddenly you've completely changed. You've shown that there is depth, that there is power, that there are consequences, his anima instantly awakens. Wait, who is this woman? I thought I knew her, but I just saw a completely different layer. And then, when he truly apologizes, when he understands he crossed a line, you allow a smooth transition back. Not immediately, because that would be weak, but gradually. And when you return to the warmth of the lover, that warmth has an entirely different value now, because he knows it's your choice, not a permanent state. This is the dance of archetypes, and it's absolutely magnetic. Jung discovered something profound about the human psyche. We are drawn to what is complex yet understandable. Too simple is boring. Too chaotic is terrifying. But organized complexity? That is fascinating. And when you can shift between archetypes fluidly yet intentionally, you offer precisely that organized complexity. He never quite knows which version of you will appear, but he trusts that all versions are authentic and that there is a deep logic connecting them. Now, let me give you another example because you need to see this from multiple angles to truly internalize it. Let's say you're in a group of friends. You might be the playful child, laughing, cracking jokes, being lighthearted. Everyone is having fun. And then someone in the group needs serious advice, is clearly suffering. Most women will stay in the same archetype, will try to lighten the situation with humor because that's what she always does. But you shift to the sage. You become serious. You offer profound, mature advice that shows a completely different dimension of who you are. And he who had been viewing you merely as the fun one suddenly realizes, wait, she possesses genuine wisdom. She has depth. She can be serious when necessary. And now you are no longer a singular entity. You are multifaceted. And the more layers he uncovers, the more captivated he becomes in discovering what else lies beneath. Jung posited that the unconscious is drawn to mystery, not manufactured mystery, not manipulative mind games, but the authentic enigma of a profound psyche that doesn't reveal itself all at once. And when you become confined to being perpetually the same, always predictable, forever presenting a single archetype, there is no mystery. He comprehends you completely within the first week. And when there is nothing left to discover, interest wanes. But here lies the most crucial element, and I implore you to grasp this profoundly. The dance of archetypes is effective only when it is authentic. You cannot feign it. You cannot simply perform various characters. What you must do is grant permission for all the genuine facets of yourself to emerge. Because all these archetypes already reside within you. You already embody the lover, the queen, the warrior, the sage, the child. The issue is that you have suppressed most of them to be merely one thing, the agreeable girl. And when you repress these archetypes, when you permit only one to surface, you are not acting strategically. You are diminishing yourself. You are psychologically mutilating yourself to fit into a narrow box. The dance of archetypes is about liberating all aspects of yourself and allowing each to manifest at the opportune moment. Are you on a romantic dinner date? Lover, is he testing your boundaries? Queen, are you laughing at something silly? Child, is he contemplating something significant in his life? Sage, has someone disrespected you or a loved one? Warrior, and when he perceives that you have access to all these facets, that you can fluidly transition between them without losing your core essence, something within his unconscious relaxes and energizes simultaneously. It relaxes because he senses, this woman is complete. She doesn't require me to be everything for her. She possesses internal resources. And it energizes because he feels, this woman is captivating. Every time I think I've understood her, she reveals another layer. Jung termed this process the actualization of the quaternitas, achieving psychic wholeness. And a woman who has attained this totality, who has integrated her multiple archetypes, is utterly irresistible to the masculine anima. Because her anima is also multifaceted, it too encompasses all these aspects. And when she recognizes a woman who mirrors this integrated multiplicity, it's akin to finding a psychological home. Then, you stop trying to be just one thing. Stop believing you must choose between being strong or being gentle, between being serious or being playful, between being independent or being affectionate. You can be everything. You already are everything. You simply need to cease suppressing 90% of yourself out of fear of not being the perfect girl. Because the perfect girl doesn't exist. And if she did, she would be profoundly dull. What does exist? what is magnetic, what engenders obsession, is the complete woman. The woman who dances between archetypes with grace and authenticity. The woman who can be 1,000 different things yet remain unmistakably herself. That woman, she is never forgotten. She is never replaceable. She's never invisible. And you can be that woman. You already are that woman. You just need to stop hiding. We now arrive at the most radical and transformative concept of all. The secret that took Jung years to comprehend and will turn on its head everything you've been taught about attraction. There exists a specific juncture in the process of connecting with a man that dictates whether you will be forgettable or unforgettable, whether you will be one of many or the sole individual he cannot overcome. And the majority of women squander this moment entirely because they fail to grasp what transpires within his subconscious. Jung referred to this as the encounter with the other's shadow, and it is in this very moment that true intimacy is either forged or irrevocably shattered. Here's what unfolds. At some point in your connection, he will disappoint you. I'm not alluding to betrayal or abuse. I'm speaking of a commonplace human failing. He will forget something significant. He will utter something insensitive. He will prioritize something else when you required his presence. He will exhibit selfishness, immaturity, fear. He will inevitably reveal his shadow to you. And in that instant, that pivotal moment, you are presented with two choices, and the option you select will wholly determine the trajectory of this connection. The first option is the one most women gravitate towards. You minimize. You feign it was inconsequential. You rationalize his behavior. You immediately absolve him without even processing the occurrence. You revert to your persona of the understanding, easygoing, uncomplicated girlfriend. And do you know what transpires in his subconscious when you do this? Something devastating. He learns that his shadow carries no repercussions with you. He learns that you are not sufficiently real to elicit genuine reactions. He learns that you are so desperate to preserve the connection that you will readily swallow anything. And his anima, it registers, this woman lacks backbone. She will not challenge me to ascend to a higher caliber. She will permit me to remain mediocre and still be available. And at this juncture, you have lost. You have become too safe, too predictable, too inconsequential. But the second option? The second option is where the Jungian magic manifests. When he unveils his shadow, when he disappoints you, you do not minimize. You, too, unveil your shadow, not in a destructive manner, not with gratuitous drama, but with unvarnished truth. You allow him to perceive your hurt, your irritation, your disappointment. You withdraw emotionally. You create space. You allow discomfort to exist between you without rushing to fix it immediately. And this is absolutely terrifying for most women, because you've been taught that showing negative emotions will push him away. That you need to be the woman who never gets angry, never gets hurt, never creates drama. But Jung discovered something revolutionary. True intimacy only happens when two shadows meet and survive the encounter. Let me explain what this means on a deeper level, because this will change your life. Every human being is afraid that their shadow will be unacceptable. That if people see who they truly are, with all their flaws and weaknesses and ugly parts, they will leave. This is a primal, universal fear that lives deep within every psyche. And when you pretend his shadow didn't affect you, when you instantly forgive and act as if nothing happened, you aren't being understanding. You are stealing from him the opportunity to be seen fully and still be accepted. You are keeping the connection superficial, because if you don't react to his shadow, you aren't truly seeing him. You are only seeing the edited version he wants you to see. But when you show that his shadow affected you, when you demonstrate that you have real reactions to real behaviors, when you allow conflict to exist, you are unconsciously saying, I see you, all of you, even the ugly parts, and it impacts me because you matter to me. And then, after he has truly processed what he did, after he makes an effort to repair, after he demonstrates growth, then you can allow reconnection. And when that reconnection happens, it happens on a completely different level. Because now he knows, this woman saw me at my worst and didn't run, but she also didn't pretend it was okay. She held me accountable. She challenged me to be better. And when I was better, she allowed me back in. Jung used to say that the process of individuation requires honest mirrors. And a mirror that only shows what is beautiful is not honest. A true mirror shows everything, even what is uncomfortable. And when you become that honest mirror for him, When you reflect not just his best but also the consequences of his worst, you become irreplaceable. Because most women will only reflect what he wants to see. They will feed his ego. They will minimize his mistakes. They will be the distorted mirror reflecting only a flattened version of reality. But you show him the truth. And the truth, however uncomfortable, is what his deep psyche is desperately seeking. Now, let me give you a very specific example because you need to understand what this looks like in real life. Let's say you plan to spend the weekend together. You were looking forward to it. You cleared your schedule. You were emotionally invested. And on Thursday night, he sends you a message saying his friends are organizing something and he's going to that instead of staying with you. The invisible girl responds, "Okay, have fun. We'll see each other next time." She swallows her disappointment. She is understanding. She is easy. And what does he learn? That her time has no value. That plans with her are cancelable. That she will always be there, always available, always waiting. But the woman who understood Jung, she doesn't explode. She doesn't create drama. She simply replies, "Okay." And when he tries to talk later, she is distant. She is busy. She's emotionally withdrawn. He realizes something is wrong. He asks, and then she shows her shadow. "You canceled plans that were important to me at the last minute for something that was clearly not urgent. That made me feel devalued, and I need some time to process if this is the kind of dynamic I want to have with someone." No shouting, no dramatic accusations, just raw truth about how she feels and what her expectations are. And you know what happens in his unconscious? Real panic. Not panic about losing an option, but panic about having hurt someone he truly values. Because suddenly he sees she has standards. She won't just accept anything. And I just crossed a line. And now he has a choice. He can minimize her feelings and show he's not ready for a real connection. Or he can truly reflect, understand the impact of his actions, and do better. And if he chooses the latter, if he genuinely strives to repair and grow, you have just gone through what Jung called the dark night of the soul together. You have confronted each other's shadows and emerged stronger on the other side. And that kind of experience creates a bond that cannot be replicated with anyone else. Because he knows that you are real, that you are not a fantasy or a performance, that you are a whole person with real needs and real boundaries. Jung discovered that the depth of intimacy is directly proportional to the amount of shadow that has been revealed and integrated between two people. Superficial connections avoid the shadow. Deep connections embrace it. So when you are always avoiding conflict, always smoothing things over, always pretending everything is fine, you are keeping the connection superficial. You are preventing true intimacy from happening. And here's the ultimate paradox, the most important one of all. Men say they want women without drama, but what they actually want, deep in the unconscious where the anima resides, is a woman who is real enough to have genuine reactions. Drama is chaos without purpose, but having boundaries, expressing genuine disappointment, withdrawing when not treated with respect, that's not drama, that's integrity. And integrity is what separates forgettable women from unforgettable women. Because in the end, he won't remember the girl who always agreed with everything. He won't miss the girl who never had a strong opinion. He won't dream of the girl who was too easy to handle. He will remember the woman who made him work to earn her. The woman who challenged him to be better. The woman who was real enough to show when he disappointed her, yet graceful enough to allow for redemption. That woman? She lives forever in his subconscious. Because she was the one who truly saw him and allowed herself to be seen in return. And you can be that woman, but only when you stop being afraid of your own shadow. Only when you understand that your genuine reactions, your legitimate anger, your real disappointments are not flaws. They are proof that you are human, whole, real. And real is the only thing that never becomes invisible.